Hey, Shalom, Shalom, Akiyam. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. I would also like to give a double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, where I learned this 144% truth. I would also like to say peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, starting with the 144,000 men of Israel, which consists of the servants, the prophets, whom have been ordained since the foundations of this earth to sing this new song, which comes in the form of this gospel, which would be preached throughout all four corners of this earth and rest upon the ears of the innumerable multitude, men, women, and children of Israel, who may be scattered throughout all four corners of this earth. Shalom. Hey, Shalom, beloved Akiyam and Akwaf. It's just Bayan back again, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. To bring forth this brief live stream before the, plantation or what have you. But you can see by the title, Cornelius is an Israelite. All right. For those of you that don't know, there's a false doctrine going out there, saying that Cornelius is is an Edomite. He's not a Jake. They're saying the more recent claim, coming out of the GOCC, via Elder Rakah, the brothers call him bubble-eyed blackfish. His eyes just popping out of his head, look crazy. But needless to say, he's pushing he actually wants individuals to prove to him, okay? He'll pay you, right? If you go on his platform and prove to him that Cornelius, all right, is an Israelite, And this is the thing, bro. The reality is this, okay? No one's gonna go on your show, all right, on your platform to try to prove anything to you. All right, the true men of the Lord, the true men that have been sent by Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, all right, they're not gonna be, on the planet Earth trying to prove anything to anybody. Okay, what are they gonna do? They're gonna speak the words that Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai puts in their mouth, and if they have to, they're gonna prophesy unto the wind. You see, because ultimately, this truth is not for we're not in a position to try to make anybody believe this truth. You see, that's not our job. Our job is to just bring it out, and if we're just sowing seed, and if it's the Lord's will, right, the Lord will give the increase. He'll water that ground. If it's on good ground, he'll water it, and it will bring forth and it will bud, it will sprout. You see, all we're doing is speaking. You see, we're not supposed. Hey, ultimately, the majority of the people are not going to believe this truth. Only a small remnant, a very, very small remnant, 33.3% of the nation of Israel. And the nation of Israel is likened unto the sand of the sea, man. Only 33.3%, okay, is going to receive this thing, man. Okay, they're going to be, those spirits are preordained, all right, foreordained, man, to be delivered in these latter days, man, via this second Exodus. All right, the masses are not going to believe. You see, we can give a damn if you believe or not, man. But the reality is this: we are set in defense of the gospel. Okay, so as you false prophets, all right, and you enemies of the cross, right, which come in the form of Jake, okay, and your vocab Malones and the rest of these anti-Mashiachim, right? You better believe the men of the Lord are gonna have something to say, okay, proving your rhetoric wrong. All right, and this is what we're gonna do to the spirit real quick right now. Nothing long and drawn out, straight to the point. You see, and honestly, the point I'm gonna make. Hey, the brothers have made the point. The brothers have made the point, because ultimately, there's one key aspect of the encounter, all right, that Cornelius had, all right, that proves that he's an Israelite. There's a talking point, all right, that proves that he's an Israelite. There's many talking points within Acts 10 that prove that he's an Israelite. From him being a devout man, you know, from him and his whole household fearing the Lord. Now, those are all key aspects, all right? But there's one specific one I want to point out, all right, and marry it with a precept that's pretty much going to what? Give credence to the reality of Cornelius having to have to be an Israelite. There's no way around it, okay? As you go precept upon precept, line upon line, using a spiritual discernment, okay, to make it make sense. You see? But anyways, when you go to let's go right into Acts 10 real quick. We're gonna read down a little bit. We're not gonna go too deep. Right, the book of Acts chapter 10 and verse 1, and it reads, there was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band. Okay, and what is a centurion? A centurion is an officer, and that word centurion, you can see you almost can see century within centurion, because it's an officer of 100 men. Okay, so Cornelius led 100 men. When you look it up in the blue letter, you will find that out. You know, but anyways, that's the lot that Cornelius was in. He was an officer of 100 men. He was in the Italian band, right? He was in the military. Hey, like you see Jake today. Okay, and you know, hey Jake, come on man, you know we're men of war, so it's not a coincidence, okay, that he was a chief officer or what have you. But anyways, a devout man, all right. When you get this word devout, it goes into what? Bear with me, let me turn on this volume. Devout, okay. It goes into what? When you get it under the adjective, right? It says having or showing deep religious feeling or commitment. Hold on now. Similar words: pious, dedicated, religious. Now we know this is beyond a religion, but ultimately we do worship Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, so you know, take that with a grain of salt. Look at believing, look, spiritual, man. Look, holy is one of the similar words. Holy, man, which we know Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai only made his people holy. Okay? How? Through the covenant that was made with us via those law, statutes, and commandments, man. We're a holy people. We're separate from the rest of the heathen. So that right there, that's a strike on you right there. But that's not even the point I want to make. But let's continue on. Acts 10 and 2. A devout man and one that feared power. Strike number 2. Okay? With all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to power always. Strike 3. Hold on, because I want to make a point. All right, Acts chapter 10 and verse 3. He saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of power coming into him and saying unto him, Cornelius. Verse 4. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, what is it, Lord? And he said unto him, thy prayers and thine alms are come up for a memorial before Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. So hold on. And we can jump down. I forgot what verse it is, but it mentions how his prayers were heard as well. I believe it's verse bear with me. Matter of fact, I don't have much time, but I'm gonna leave it right there. And it reads, I'm gonna read it again. Acts 10 and 4. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, what is it, Lord? And he said unto him, thy prayers and thine alms have come up for a memorial, all right, before power. Memorial, it was brought into remembrance. Okay, he was brought into remembrance. Hold on, his prayers and his alms, they were heard, man. His prayers was heard, right? So hold on. When you go you go to the book of Tobit real quick, the book of Tobit chapter 12 and verse 15, right? This is what it reads. I am Raphael, one of the 7 holy angels, which present the prayers of the saints, and which go in and out before the glory of the Holy One. Hold on. I am Raphael, one of the 7 holy angels, which present the prayers of the saints. Okay? Cornelius would have had to have been a saint. Who are the saints? We're not talking about the Church of Latter-day Saints, man. Okay? No, who are the saints, man, for real? Not this rhetoric that Esau's been pushing. When you go into the scriptures tell you who the saints are, man. You know? The scriptures tell you. There's a few locations, but I like this one because it brings the point home when you precept it. The book of Psalms chapter 50 and verse 5, and it reads, gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice, man. And you can get that in Exodus the 24th chapter, which goes into the affirmation of the covenant. Okay? Why is it the affirmation of the covenant, excuse me? Because Jake said this. All right, Jake said this. Jake affirmed it. Let me see here. I'm gonna start from verse 4 and just read down. Listen. Exodus 24 and 4. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord Yahweh and rose up early in the morning and building an altar under the hill. And what do you do on an altar? You put up a sacrifice. Check out who was there, right? And 12 pillars. Hold on, why 12? Let's find out. According to the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay? And he sent young men. Now this is talking to that covenant that was made by sacrifice in Psalm 50, man. Referencing who the saints are. Look. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offer burnt offerings and sacrifice peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord Yahweh. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant, right? And read in the audience of the people. And we know only Israelites were there, right? That's why 12 pillars were erected. And they said, all that the Lord Yahweh has said, we will do and be obedient. You see, they affirmed the covenant. Okay? And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people. And this is going into that covenant by sacrifice. And said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord Yahweh hath made with you concerning all these words, man. Okay? So when you bring this thing around full circle, this whole talking point of Cornelius being an Israelite, he would have to be, okay, being that it's confirmed in Acts 10 that vision he had with the encounter with the angel, that his prayers were as a memorial before the Lord, man. He remembered him. He heard him. He heard his prayer. Cornelius would have to have been a saint, which is an Israelite, pursuant to the a sacrifice that was made, or that covenant that was made by sacrifice, as it tells us in Psalms 50. He would have had to be. There's no way around it. There's no way you can dance around that. You see? There's no way you can dance around that, man. Point blank, period, man. And that's the reality of this thing. But the thing is this, man. Like the beloved brother Isaiah, right? He did a lesson yesterday, and I was able to watch, right? He made a heavy point regarding regarding how, these so-called Christian stance with this neither Jew nor Greek talking point they always come up with. That's honestly an effort to them to try to save the so-called white man. Because when you think about it, and this is what the brother said, and this is a very heavy point. Who are the Greeks? All right, because when you tap into who the Greeks really truly are, there will be what? There will be Japhetic, right? That land, okay? The Esau took on that that Greek title. You know, ultimately that land was all Japhetic. You know, so who are they talking about when they're talking about neither Jew nor Greek? And why does it not say neither Jew nor Roman? The brother made beautiful points, man. That was heavy right there. And I was thinking, that got me thinking, because I had this lesson on my mind for some time, but there's a lot going on. You know what I mean? So the spirit be moved. I try to move with the spirit. Yeah, I try not to, like, you know, force the course of the river, if the Lord allows. And I try to, like, just flow. I meditate, let the Lord have me do what you want me to do, not me doing what I want to do. I want to do this lesson. I'm gonna do this one. No. Hey, that's why this lesson's coming out so late through the spirit. I mean, from the time that Elder Rakah from the GOCC made this statement, I'm speaking on it now because the spirit wouldn't allow it. There were other things that the spirit had me going into. You know, but needless to say, that got me thinking. When I heard the brother's lesson yesterday, that got me thinking. I'm like, this whole Cornelius situation, you know, that's another doctrine they're trying to stand on in efforts to save the white man. You see, this is another doctrine that they're trying to stand on in efforts to save the self-proclaimed white man, man. But it's getting knocked down because it doesn't make sense when you tap into it. Hey, that's why Isaiah 28, man. Precept must be upon precept, line must be upon line, man. Whom should the Lord man, let me get that real quick. Isaiah 28. Bear with me, his phone's gonna try to fall down on me. Bear with me, Aki Aminabwa. The book of Isaiah chapter 28 and verse 9 is what I want. Right? Whom shall he teach knowledge, man? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast, baby. We're just talking to what? The foundation of this doctrine, which is the what? The basics, man. You know? The basics, the basic fundamentals of this truth. Who we are, who our enemy is, you know, circular history. The milk, man, the basics, man. That's why the elders and apostles say go 1 deep. They ain't no need to go 2 deep, man. You see, and this is the thing. A lot of people that think they're deep, they don't even know the milk. They're not even rooted and grounded in the milk, which the milk is gonna set your foundation, sure, you know. But anyways, this is the point. For precept must be upon precept, man. This is part of you understanding doctrine, right? And being able to be taught knowledge, man. Precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line upon line, here a little and there a little, man. This is how you make this thing make sense. See, the Bible, and guess what? You still got to have the spirit on you. It even goes deeper than that. You got to have the spirit on you. You know? The spirit of wisdom, knowledge, understanding, counsel, and fear of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. If you ain't got the spirit on you, the Rakak Kodash, guess what? You're still not going to get it. As we can see. You know? Another example mentioning the brother Isaiah on Saturday when they went toe to toe with old girl. Okay? She couldn't grasp the idea, the reality of those Gentiles being Israelites. She knew the Bible. I'll give her that much. She knew the Bible, but she didn't have understanding of it. She knew it. She had knowledge of it, but she didn't have the understanding. That's where she's lacking. You know? That's where she's lacking, man. Because after everything was said and done, after all the precepts that were brought up, after all the points that was being made, or after all the circular history that was established, via being cohesively with the scriptures, you know, making the point of who's who and what's what. She was still standing on the reality in her little mind. She was still standing on the reality of what? She can't come to grips with those Gentiles being Israelites. You know? And that's because why? She doesn't have the spirit. The Holy Spirit's not rooted, not in her. You know? She hit a ceiling. And that's the majority of our people. You know? This thing is deeper than just you reading the Bible and getting this divine understanding. No, man. You can get some information and retain it, but the divine understanding you're gonna lack. You're not gonna have that divine understanding. You see, to where you will what? You will reject a doctrine, pure doctrine in the form of what? Cornelius being an Israelite. You won't be able to see the spiritual overtone of the reality of the encounter he had with the angel and how everything played out, how he's being described. You won't be able to see the reality. That's the Israelite, man. You know? Why? Because you don't have the spirit. You see? You're not judging spiritually. You know? Because, hey, the spirit, man, hey, they see? The Wadi Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, man. At the end of the day, you know, that's why we try the spirit by the spirit, man. Because the spirit is going to determine. That's how we can come to a conclusion like, you know? Because in order for you to believe spiritual things, the spirit of the Lord got to be in you. You know? Because that talks to the faith. Because faith is the evidence of things not seen. You know? It takes a divine entity in order for you to come to the grips of the reality of a specific talking point within the doctrine. It's just that simple, man. Stay with me, Akim. You know? So yeah, the Wadi Yahweh Bashim Yahushai for that, because hey, he allowed us to dwell on this course, man. We got the spirit on us, Akiyam and Akwa. The Wadi Yahweh Bashim Yahushai for that. Lord willing, he keeps us. You know? That's why we got to make it our business to serve the Lord. You know, and I'm speaking to myself first and foremost. We got to make it our business to serve Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Let me and stay obedient, obviously. You know, that's critical. Let me go to the comment board real quick, because that was pretty. You know what I mean? That's pretty much the point, man. You either get it or you don't. Hey, Shalom, beloved Akiyam and Akwa on the comment board. Not gonna tune in later. Hey, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Barakatham. Yeah, man. Hey, bro. Yeah, the brothers on the comment board, man. Shalom, Ak. GMS in the Truth Orlando. The beloved brother Isaiah. Yo, Shalom. I was just speaking about a couple of points that you were making on your lesson yesterday, man. The pre-recording lesson you did. And that was that was heavy, bro. You know, just to meditate on that, like. It makes perfect sense. They're trying to save the self-proclaimed white man, man. And that goes to show you, man. This dude Esau's doctrine was his doctrine was you know, he designed it to where, you know, he can have a place, you know, in the story where he actually, you know, is delivered, and you know, salvation wise, you know, and. These wacky-tacky Christians throw around salvation like they don't even know what salvation is. You know? Salvation ultimately is taking part of that second covenant. Alright? Israel being sovereign, being immortal. And they don't understand that. No heathen is gonna be taking part of that second covenant. And we can prove that when you get Hebrews 8. There's no other nation mentioned, man. You see? No other nation is mentioned, man. You're not going to take part of that, man. You know, you heathen again, you're going to be in the kingdom. You know? Esau is going to be in the kingdom for a limited amount of time. But, you know, you heathen are going to be in the kingdom. You're going to be there. Oh, yeah, you're going to be there. You know? That first 1,000 years is going to be rigorous. It's going to be a rigorous captivity. You gotta go through an effort to pay that debt. You gotta pay that debt back that you owe. Right? And then after that, guess what? You're gonna be living in paradise, man. You're gonna be living in paradise. You're never gonna want to die. The way you heathen are gonna be living in the kingdom, all right, after your captivity, the way things are gonna be set up, and you know, the righteousness that's going to be established, man, that new heaven and that new earth, man. Hey, you heathen are not even going to want to die. you're gonna be like, damn, you know? But you're gonna understand the beauty of dying, because that's something the world doesn't understand either. And people know you're going live and you still get a phone call, man. I'm gonna have to call them back. Bear with me. I'm hitting a rotary real quick. Let me just make sure. These people are crazy out here. Calm. Calm, brother. Hey. Oh, no doubt, brother. You were here. I didn't even know it, man. Hey, call out your how about you shy, man. Yeah, you know, brothers be locked in. You know, you get tunnel vision when you start getting into these scriptures, man. The spirit just takes over you, and you just go, you know. But yeah, Malak, hey, it's the spirit, bro. It's the spirit. The spirit, hey, the spirit is moving, man. The spirit is moving. The spirit is just continuously revealing this false doctrine that they've been pushing for years, man. You know, which hey, the Lord's allowing the men to truly knock down these strongholds that Esau has set up. You know, that's why we know Esau's gotta stop this word. If he doesn't, he's doomed. Which we know he's gonna try. You know, Amos 8 has to come to pass. You know, and this is why we warn you, Jake. You gotta repent. If you don't, hey, that's on you. Yeah, you really don't gotta do nothing. Hey, the elect repent. You know, and 2/3 of you are gonna stay locked in to this madness, and you're gonna find yourself being consumed. You know, by prophecy, man, because you've been warned. You know, you've been warned, man, over and over and over. Come on, man. Our elders, man, have been warning you, Jake. You got no excuse. You got no excuse, man. You just gotta, hey, just get ready to go through what you gotta go through, man. Because at the end of the day, you've been warned, man. You've been warned. You know? This is where it's going out 7 days a week. 24 hours a day. Morning, noon, and night. You, Jake, have no excuse. No excuse at all. And your mindset, right, and your negligence to turn back while you had the opportunity, is ultimately going to testify against you. When judgment starts, when the Lord starts allowing that judgment, you know, to come down like rain, man. You know. But yeah, I reached my destination through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahshai. The water Yahweh Bashim Yahshai for that. And yeah, that's pretty much the point. You know, that's pretty much the point, man. You know, hey, Cornelius is an Israelite, and Cornelius is probably here today, right now, real time, within the camp. You know, or a faithful believer. You know. That's why I titled it like that. I didn't say Cornelius was an Israelite. Speaking past, no, Cornelius is an Israelite, man. Straight up. Whether you believe that or not. And at the end of the day, we'll see. You know? We'll see who was right at the end of this thing. And that's why brothers can't wait. Brothers can't wait for the Lord to bring it to you people, man. Because at the end of the day, we're going to see who was right and we're going to see who was wrong. We already know we right through the Spirit. Through the Spirit and the power of Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, we know we're right. And that might sound, you know, proud to one that's, you know, of low understanding. No. Listen. We know who we worship, man. We know now. Yahweh Bashim Yahshai has made it clear. Every single doctrine that has tried to come up against this truth has been smothered, okay, by the elders and apostles on down, man. The true doctrine has smothered every single talking point. You bring up anything regarding wacky tacky bugged out 501c3 tax charter Christianity, man, and watch it be dismantled by the truth. Watch the true understanding come out. It's your fault that you can't receive it and believe it. All right? Because you don't got the Holy Spirit to do so. That's on you. You know? But hey, the elect believe, the elect understand, man. The water Yahweh Bashim Yahshai for that. Lord willing, we're part of that precious number. You know? Because as we know, many are called, but few are chosen, man. You know, Lord willing, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua keeps us, as I always say, Abarataza, Lord willing. You know, Lord willing, man. But one thing's for certain, man. Hey, the truth is here. You know, and we believe wholeheartedly that it's coming out of the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, man. Point blank, period. You should know a man by his fruits. You know, call it what you want. That's just the truth, man. That's just the truth. But I'm gonna leave you with that, beloved Akiyam and Akwaf. You know, Lord willing, you were edified. Lord willing, you were spiritually fed through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Aparatazah, man. Hey, may Yahweh Bashim Yahushai be with you, man. Hey, all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, where I learned this 144% truth. Hey, Lord willing, you Akiyam and Akwaf will edify. Hey,